The number of African Americans who own businesses is growing, but are they enjoying an equal share of success compared to non-minority business owners? The numbers indicating the disparity may surprise you, but we'll talk to business leaders about how to even them out next on Black Issues Forum.
Quality public television is made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC TV.
Welcome to Black Issues Forum. I'm Deborah Holt-Noel. With slow job growth and a lingering recession, more individuals are becoming their own boss and starting up their own businesses. In 2007, the Minority Business Development Agency reported 25.9 million firms in the U.S., 1.9 million African American firms, according to census data. And from 2002 to 2007, that number more than tripled the national rate. However, African American firms are not sharing equally in the benefits of profit, job creation, and opportunity of their non-minority counterparts.
Before this video fully starts, let me know in the comments, why do you think it's not being shared equally amongst all parties?
You may not find this unusual, but the numbers that reflect the depth of this disparity may cause you to question that. We'll talk about those numbers and some of the work going on to help African American and minority firms achieve parity. To help us, I'd like to introduce Shelton Russell, publisher of American DBE magazine, and Eric Watson, President and CEO of the Carolinas, Virginia Minority Supplier Development Council. Gentlemen, we really appreciate you both coming out today. Let's open up by just kind of clarifying some acronyms and terms. Russell, can you tell us what DBE is, and also what MBE is, because we're going to be talking about that later too.
Sure. A disadvantaged business enterprise, or DBE, is certified by the United States Department of Transportation or their affiliate in each state. In North Carolina, it's the North Carolina Department of Transportation. And so when you hear the term DBE, you're typically thinking of transportation-related businesses. When you hear the term MBE, Minority Business Enterprise, it can take on a number of meanings, but it means minority business enterprise. But different agencies such as the Carolinas, Virginia Minority Supplier Development Council and others will have an MBE certification to designate firms that meet that criteria.
So just because you're a minority, do you actually have to have a certification saying so, Eric?
No, our council certifies minorities, and we define that as African American, Hispanic, Asian, and Native American. And that certification has three prongs. One, 51% minority owned and controlled, and then financially stable. So those are the things that we do, somewhat of a vetting process for our corporate members.
Does it apply to the size of the organization?
Yeah, well, we have 4 classes of size, and you could be, up to over $1 million to just starting out. So those sizes are relevant to a beginning organization to a very mature organization.
And what is the work and mission of the council that you head up?
Well, at the end of the day, we work to put together major corporations with minority business owners. And we do 4 things specifically. We certify, we develop, we connect, and advocate. And when you think about those things, we certify to provide access, not to just be certified. We develop them to create wealth. The connections are around strategic partnerships, and the advocacy is really around empowerment. So those are the 4 things we do majorly every day.
Aren't these things that an individual organization, a business owner can kind of develop on their own? I mean, how important is it to have an organization such as yours advocating on your behalf?
It's a great point, because what we have is we have major corporate members that we partner them with in a strategic way. So the fact that they have the ability to grow their business and do so, the networking with other businesses like themselves, the networking with major corporations, and then the ability to grow, develop your business beyond just being a contracted worker with a corporation. Having a strategic partnership is very different. And I think it's a difference in being certified and having a contract and being certified and growing wealth.
Okay, so make sure I'm understanding this correctly. It sounds like his organization plays the middleman between the small business and the big businesses by connecting them to maybe uh, help the small business become a little bit more profitable, and therefore helping the big business in other ways as well. Let me know in the comments, are you seeing or hearing the same thing?
And sustainable wealth is really the gap that we've got to work to close.
Well, we're going to try to understand that wealth gap a little bit better right now as we take a look at some numbers. To understand the issue, let's go ahead and take a look at dollars and cents where economic impact and profile are concerned. The figures we're discussing are based on a report by the Minority Business Development Agency in the U.S. Department of Commerce using census data from 2007. We noted in the open that there were a total of 25.9 million business firms in the U.S., and that 1.9 of those were African American firms. There were 20.1 non-minority firms that generated $9.8 trillion in gross receipts. That averaged out to $488,000 each. Compare that to the 5.8 million minority firms who generated $1 trillion in gross receipts, for an average of $178,000 per firm. And compare that then to the 1.9 million African American firms who generated $135 billion in gross receipts.
You know what I'm getting from this also, and please let me know if you getting the same thing or something differently. But it sounds to me like minority people need to become better educated in the different fields that's out there that's willing to help them grow and become better. Let me know in the comments, are you seeing or hearing the same thing?
For an average of $71,000 per firm. So just in terms of gross receipts, we're comparing an average 488,000 to 71,000 annual. Russell, tell us, what does that disparity, first of all, tell us about what's going on between minority-owned businesses and others?
I think it points to some key factors. One is the amount of resources and capital that a lot of business owners have when they start a business. So when you first start out, either you have savings or you can get investment capital or funding or a loan to start that business, which allows you to grow faster and develop capacity. If you don't have those, you're going to grow your revenue slowly as you really bootstrap the business to try to get it to grow. And it's much more challenging. So I think that's one thing those numbers immediately tell me. What type of resources did the business owner start out with to allow them to grow the business?
Well, that's understandable. There are a lot of African American owned firms that don't start off with the capital. So if we take that into consideration, then isn't it understandable that there would be the great disparity? And also, what if we shaved off that top 10% of highly grossing companies like the Bill Gates and the Mark Zuckerbergs of the business world, and then shaved off the lower 10%? Would the numbers even out a little bit?
It would help. I think there's still issues around access and opportunity, and there's discrimination in the marketplace. We just in North Carolina in the transportation sector completed a disparity study that showed that minus all those factors, taking out for length of time in business, the revenues and the experience of the business owner, that minority firms are still not getting an equal share of the opportunities in transportation in North Carolina with the Department of Transportation. So discrimination and lack of opportunity still exists, and that's why agencies such as Eric's at CVMSDC and our magazine seek to really expose and promote that we need to still advocate for minority businesses to get opportunity.
I'm just going to take a look at some other numbers. Another important set of numbers actually would consider how much power these businesses have in terms of contributing jobs to the economy. Let's take a look at those. The number of paid employees with non-minority firms in 2007 was 50.1 million. The number in all minority firms was 5.8 million, and the number in African American firms was 910,000. How important, Eric, is that power to generate jobs and employ others?
Well, one of the things that is somewhat understood but not always talked about, small business really drives the jobs in this nation, and minority businesses are the largest growing factor of small businesses. So when you think about minority or black population, that's where the jobs are coming from. So when we're employed or underemployed in the major market, in the small business and minority business is where we're getting jobs. And that's one of the things that isn't really valued. And when minority businesses are started and growing, jobs are created in our community.
What do you say to corporations and other stakeholders to impress this fact upon them? Is it a hard sell to get them to participate in trying to partner with minority suppliers?
No, I think when you think about the disparity, I think major corporations know and understand the branding, the PR, the recognition of, the consumer market includes the African American and the minority markets consumer. But at the end of the day, businesses exist to make money. And right now, from an economic, societal, and political standpoint, there's nothing driving this in a sustainable way. So there are programs and there are systems. What we have to create is something that's going to be sustainable and really more innovative than we've had in the past. The executive order 40 years ago by Nixon that set this up really did a great thing 40 years ago. Today, we don't have the drive and push to move this, to really change the disparity, and that's what's important. Corporations are in the game, minority business in the game, but we have to do this very differently than we have in the past. We've got to transform the model. There's got to be focused, intentional, and deliberate actions to change the wealth factor for minority business. Without that, and corporations are in it, but without that, it's not going to change. It's too pedestrian.
So to me, what it sounds like is even before a black-owned or minority start a business, they need to gather information. Now, my YouTube channel is doing its part, but I think it needs to go just a little bit deeper. Let me know in the comments what type of information you think you need more of, and maybe I would do videos on them.
We're going to look at just one more set of numbers, then we're going to continue our conversation. These numbers take into account the entrepreneurial parity in order to understand economic impact. This chart illustrates parity in terms of ownership. So there are 1.9 million African American firms that exist, but if there were parity, there would be almost twice as many owners. And considering parity in terms of paid employees, African American firms had 910,000 employees. If African American firms had parity, African Americans would be employing nearly 8 times that number. Just as you said, Eric, a great, powerful potential in being able to create jobs and employ people. And lastly, in terms of gross receipts, the $135.7 billion African American firms are pulling is much less than than the potential at parity.
Let me know in the comments, to you, how important is it to you that African Americans employ other African Americans?
Parity. We talked a little bit about some of the things that are contributing to the gap. Racism, institutional racism. Share a little bit more, Russell.
Well, I think those numbers point out that for minorities to go in business, they have to see a real opportunity. And so we're still starting businesses and we're starting them at a good rate, but not at the same rate as other minority populations or non-minorities. And I think that is the ability to start a business, get funding, and grow a business. And so when you have factors in the marketplace, whether it's in the corporate market and the government market, where folks feel like they don't have a fair shot to grow a business, then they're going to start them at a slower rate. And then if you get in business and face those historic barriers, then you're not going to be able to either grow and grow, or grow your and develop your business, or even see the opportunity to start.
As an advocate for some of these businesses, what are you saying to potential partners?
Okay. Well, it's critical that we have the kind of focus partnerships that are sustainable. I don't want to miss the point. The difference in having contracts and the difference in growing wealth are very different. And we've got a system that allows, through our certification and others, for our minority business to get a contract. We have to have the kind of strategic partnerships that's going to grow wealth, that creates prosperity. That system does not exist. That's the kind of focus we need. If we're not deliberate in that, we're not going to get it. And the point being, to be in business is one thing. To have a business that is going to be sustainable, that your children, your grandchildren are going to take, those are things that we have to create. That's the kind of wealth that doesn't exist sustainably in a broad sense in our community.
Now, when you talk
Now, let me know in the comments, are you one of those people that are trying to or hope to create generational wealth? And also, or is your foundation more about generational trauma?
talk about systems, who are the people who need to be involved in the conversation? Who are the stakeholders in designing the new system, since the old ones have been disrupted or dismantled?
I think it's a great point, because on both sides, I truly would say my constituency of MBEs have to be very focused about wanting to run a business, growing a business. You can't just be in business. And I think our corporations have to be very deliberate about how they're going to support them.
What are the MBEs not doing that is an example of not showing that interest?
Well, I think one of the things is you can't, you can't work for every corporation. You got to find out where you are and go deep. Water and oil on the surface dries up. When you go deep and you look for water and oil, then you go wide and you grow it, and it's in the ground. I think that we've got to find a space where the right MBEs get connected with the right partnerships, grow deep, and can grow wealth. I think that's something that our MBEs that are large and mature have found. We've got to have more of that. On the other side, with corporations have to understand that it's a very different culture running an MBE, a minority business, than a corporation. So they need to give them insight to the business cycle, the corporate culture, how they make money, so that we can help them make money. Those are things that are not, they're sort of the intangibles that don't get talked about. So I could be the best product, the best MBE. I may not be able to help your business if I don't understand how you make money. And that's one of the gaps.
And I'll add to that by saying, I think in the minority community especially, it's not only the business community, but it's our total community. It's citizens of North Carolina or across the country. It's our legislators. It's our religious community. I mean, small business is what drives our community, what drives job creation. And so it's important for anyone that is interested in economic development, the improvement of our state as a whole and in this country, to be involved in making sure all businesses have a fair chance to succeed. And as that happens, because we've got to keep at it on the legislative front. We've got to keep at it with corporations and advocate that says, if we spend money with you, we want you to spend money with us for us to continue to buy your product. So it takes all of us to do that. And then businesses have to fulfill their end of the bargain by bringing a great product to market, executing on that product and growing a business.
Well, Russell, can you share with us an example of what this looks like? Any success stories with a business, an MBE that was doing the right things, made the right connections? What does it look like?
it looks like I'm thinking of a North Carolina example. I worked at North Carolina Department of Transportation for years, and we had a guy who came out of the military and started by buying one dump truck. And not the most sophisticated of businesses, but he's grown that business to have over 20. He came out of the military, retired, started a business in Youngsville, North Carolina, and has grown that business. He worked on, right outside the door here, the Turnpike project, the first North Carolina Turnpike project. Did a lot of work on that project, and over the last 15 years has grown that to employ over 30 people. He has started another company where he does truck tires and service, and so he's a great example of really, starting small, but making the right moves. He became certified with the North Carolina Department of Transportation
Early in the
game, yes, and has just done the right things. He's brought his family into the business. His three sons have worked in the business, and he's really doing it the right way.
Help this video to do the right thing by touching many lives by giving this video a like.
Hiring people in his community, being involved in his community, and growing a sound business.
Are you finding that in each of your industries, the minority suppliers, business owners who you work with, are you finding that they are not participating in the ways that are going to benefit them because they don't know? And if so, or even if not, what are you doing to reach out to those businesses and provide them that insight and then kind of nurture them along?
Well, for me, after working at North Carolina Department of Transportation for 9 years, left there and started my magazine because I saw the need for getting the news out, getting information out, and sharing best practices, success stories of folks that are really succeeding in business. And so over the last 2 years, working on this magazine, growing it, has taken me across the country to see successful minority businesses doing great things, growing sizable businesses, and really kind of looking at what is creating that type of growth and then sharing that with others.
And that's specific to transportation. Who
Yes.
in transportation can get this magazine? Where can you find it?
Anyone can get the magazine. We're online at americandbe.com. But we try to write stories and share information that anyone in business could benefit from. Certainly, it's targeted towards the transportation industry in terms of the type of best practice or type of projects that we look at.
And if you're interested in their website, I will make sure there's a link in the description box below.
That covers aviation, and you talk about retail in terms of airport concessions. We're into construction with highway work, and also into mass transit in terms of light rail, bus service, and all those types of opportunities. So it's still a broad industry, and about $50 billion a year is what we spend in the country on transportation. So.
And when you look at the breakdown of where African Americans are owning their businesses, transportation is one of the smaller sections. One of the largest, though, and I was surprised to see this, was health and health administration. What kind of advocacy or work can you offer folks working in that industry to help them see the opportunities that are available?
Well, I think we also know, based on how we're both aging and healthcare. Healthcare is one of the biggest opportunities for jobs across the nation. But clearly in the minority community and minority businesses, healthcare and hospitals are one of the vast places for opportunity. They're looking for minority businesses, and that's part of our work to get them connected. Healthcare, energy, manufacturing are spaces where they're looking for minority businesses that can develop and grow scale. And that's what the council is here to do, to connect those corporations with those minority businesses, grow them together, knowing that there's going to be commitment on both sides, sacrifice on both sides to grow.
It seems like it's so key to have that larger world view, not only specific to one's business, but also in terms of reaching out to the world community. Talk a little bit, Eric, about any missed opportunities or opportunities that are out there with regard to importing and exporting with the global market.
Right now, we have a strategy that we're working on for importing and exporting. That is one of the smallest spaces that currently minorities and African Americans are participating in. There's federal money, there's local money that is available, but right now we're not in that space very well. So we're personally, I have a commitment to grow that from an educational standpoint with the president's administration and locally, because importing and exporting has a huge opportunity. If you look at the countries around the world, they're all exporting to different countries. Major corporations are global. We have to be a part of that community as minority businesses for opportunities.
In terms of, once again, setting up those systems, who are you trying to reach out to, Russell, and what are the starting points? Because there's so many places that are broken.
I think the starting point is determining as a potential business owner what value you can bring to the market. What skills do you have and abilities that could really become a business? And once you do that, there are systems here in North Carolina with the Department of Transportation, with the CBMSDC and others that can help you kind of put a business plan around that and start in business. But that is the crucial step. It's really putting the kind of the legwork, education, and time in to structure that business right before starting out. Because as you pointed out in those numbers, the ability to grow is going to be it's a difficult process. And so having resources, having the right knowledge, information, having the right savings, whatever you need to grow that business is going to be very crucial.
So the two of you are offering that developmental support. So I hope that our viewers, anyone out there who's considering or already in a business ownership position, will reach out to you. Thanks so much again. I'd like to thank Shelton Russell, publisher of American DBE magazine, and Eric Watson, president and CEO of the Carolinas Virginia Minority Supplier Development Council, for coming out today. To get more information about today's show or watch Black Issues Forum online,
I'd like to thank you for watching this video, but if you know anyone that are business owners or anyone that's interested in being a business owner, please send this video to them. It may have information in there that can help them grow just a little bit faster. If you are a business owner and you want to stay small, or you are interested in, at the least letting me know what type of business you have, please let me know in the comments. But as always, don't forget to like, share, watch more videos, and subscribe to the channel.